My name is Sean Castro, and I love the network. The network of people, experiences all across the board, from beginner level to very expert level.
We absolutely love Above Asking. They've had us out numerous times, and we love all the people that get to share this moment with us.
I love this property. I love the design in it. Like, I like the finishes that they used in the kitchen, in the bathrooms. It kind of reminds me of my house, but done better.
Above Asking rules.
High five! So we're here with Josh. Josh, take a second to introduce yourself, how long you've been in the business, what brought you to this project, and then we'll jump into the questions.
Yeah, so my name is Josh. Been in the business for about a year. And so this is my first deal. I've been doing a couple wholesales before this, and I also manage a rental. And as far as what I would like out of the group, looking to connect with more wholesalers and realtors that can bring deals, but also looking for more deals just like this one as well.
All right. So we're doing more deals after this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, that's a good sign, right? We did the first deal, we're doing more deals.
We came across a deal on School. So they had posted it on School as a wholesale deal. We were looking for deals previously in the Carrollwood area. And just off the title or the subject line, it said Carrollwood home flip with the pool. Instantly got drawn to that, and so I reached out to Keeley, got a walkthrough scheduled, and then soon after we started talking numbers, and then made a deal happen from there.
Yep, that's great. So use the thread. So School, for the newbies in the group or folks that are not quite members yet, it's just a platform that we use where we can house and archive all the old meetings that we've had, resources, kind of use like a Facebook thread. But if you have a deal that you feel like it's a good deal, you can post it right in there and you're going to get responses from your fellow members. So we ended up getting this lead. It was an estate lead. The lady that lived in the house, her husband died, but it was a marriage that was later in life. He left the house to her and her son. She was friendly with the son, but she didn't have enough money to stay in the home, so the son kind of forced her to sell it. All amicably, of course. It was kind of like, hey, I can't continue to float the mortgage, so they had to float the house. So we went through some rounds of negotiation. Keeley and I met here in person. I think the moral of the story is if you think you have a real deal, don't be afraid to go out of your way and go meet with folks in person. There's something different about looking somebody in the eye, hearing their story. Walk us through the financials, what we bought it for. Talk us through a little bit about the numbers.
Yeah, so I think originally when you had posted it, we had talked and you were asking $325.
Yep.
And so we came and walked it.
You just reminded me how much of a negotiator he was. Like, listen, this guy negotiated like a pro.
We're not wholesalers, we wholesale a deal
He
to a
absolutely demolished us on this thing. All right, well, go ahead.
No, so yes, originally it was listed for $325, and then we came and walked it, saw what the scope of work might entail, and then kind of went back, ran our numbers, had a rough idea as far as what we were looking to spend on the project. And then from there, just trying to make it work back, with where we estimate that we're going to exit from, and then working in those numbers for the rehab. So originally, I think I had went back to you and asked if you can do 300, and then I think we settled at 305.
Yep. Okay, I like that. So, Josh came to the table. Of course, we're friendly because we're all part of the same community. But he's like, hey, listen, I can't do it. This number it doesn't work. Here's why, and he just fleshed it out with me, right? Like, here's my research. Here are my numbers. To make it worth mathematically, I really have to be here. And Keeley and I felt like, hey, we want to do a deal with a member of the group, so we settled on 305. He beat us up, but I think everybody still won, so it was a win in the end. So bought it for 305.
Yeah, and then originally when we had comped it, we were thinking exit around 475.
Okay.
And so that's kind of conservative where we landed there. And then a conservative budget, we originally had around 100, but hoping to put in, right around 80 to 85 is what the sweet spot we were hoping for.
Yep.
And so as far as, so we're not completely done with the project, there's still a little bit left to do, but majority of it's done. But basically, once we're all said and done, we're forecasting about a little north of 90,000 for all the operating costs for the project. Yep.
Okay, cool.
And so that would put us right around 400 total, a little over.
Okay.
And then from there, since then, there's been a couple sales in the neighborhood. So we feel pretty confident that we can sell a little bit above 475. So that's why we have listed here 485.
Yep.
And then that's how we come out to those margins.
I love it. Yeah. So how do we, because this is your first deal, how do we get to the numbers on the project?
Yeah, so I would say from previous experience, doing just a couple wholesale deals and running numbers through that, I have a general understanding of just looking at an entire house, what things might cost, and then from there, want to definitely confirm the numbers. So while we were before closing, while we were still negotiating, had brought out a couple contractors here, walked it with actually multiple people, just getting multiple bids. And then from there, you kind of have a baseline. You have a high end, low end, and then you kind of want to fall somewhere in between there as far as quality of work, but then also just understanding what needs to be put in as far as what an end buyer would want. And so we were able to kind of confirm those numbers that we had originally thought we would end up at, and that's how, like I mentioned before, the $85,000 sweet spot is what we were hoping.
So there was a range of quotes for the whole job, right? And if I seem to remember on this one, we had to do some reconfiguration, right? So that was a part of it. So talk to us a little bit about the reconfiguration, what was done, and then maybe we can get an idea of how that translated into the rehab scope that you landed on.
Oh yeah, so yeah, originally when we had walked the house, the kitchen was a little bit lower with the drop ceiling. That third bedroom over there was completely open as a closed-in photo room.
Yep.
And then the garage over here was actually an extra bedroom and bathroom. They had finished it off, but without permits. And then the last thing, the bathrooms were a little bit smaller. So the primary bathroom was actually smaller than the guest bathroom. And so we had spoken to Keeley while walking the house, and she had made these suggestions as far as what a buyer might like when coming in. And so we made some of those changes. So opened up the bathroom, made that master bathroom a lot bigger. We're able to fit a double vanity there. Opened up the kitchen, these open vault ceilings. Able to make a nice open space. And then instead of having the third bedroom over in the garage, we want to convert that back into a garage. So we took out all the plumbing for the bathrooms, ripped out all the floors, and then we ended up framing up a third bedroom over there.
So why the decision so normally we think like, man, extra square footage, extra bathroom, that's way better, right?
Yeah.
So why did you decide to eliminate the extra square footage in the bathroom, outside of course, being unpermitted? But what was the decision process there?
So I think there's a couple reasons why.
Okay.
First being, in a neighborhood like this, a garage is kind of desirable. So that was mainly the primary thought behind it.
Yep.
But then the secondary thought was that that third bedroom and bathroom in that garage wasn't permitted, and so because of that, we'd have to go and retroactively pull those permits.
Yeah.
And that would take a lot more time, a lot more headache. We'd have to get design plans or engineer plans. And so we decided to make the decision of just following what the county records show and taking out the bathroom and bedroom over there, and then instead framing up the third bedroom over there.
Yeah. So the idea is like, hey, extra square footage or even an extra bathroom is not always that much more desirable, right? Like,
right.
If it doesn't conform to the neighborhood, if this is not a neighborhood where people are doing ADUs in garages and there's a lot of tenants and rentals going on, like it just doesn't quite make sense, right? So
yeah.
There's actually more value in having a proper garage. Your buyer's going to give you more money so that they can park their car in their garage than they would if they had extra square footage in the house and had to park in the driveway, right? So
yeah. And to your point too, most of the houses in this neighborhood are right around like 1,000 to 1,400 square feet. And so if we did go and get the garage permitted, we're looking at like a 1,900 square foot house, which is nice, very big, but kind of an outlier to the rest of the neighborhood.
Sure, exactly right. Okay, I love that. So tell us about the project management process. Did you manage this project yourself? Did you hire out and third party?
Yeah, so it was almost sort of like a hybrid approach,
which
I'm sure most investors are probably following. But basically we contracted with a project manager to do the majority of the interior renovations. And so they were responsible for managing those subs, and majority of what's done in here was managed by them.
Okay.
And then more of like the big ticket items is what we sort of decided to sub out ourselves. So that would include the roof, cleaning up the pool, installing the new garage. Those are like big ticket items is what we decided to perform ourselves.
Okay.
Or not perform ourselves, but sub out ourselves.
But manage yourselves. Right. So when did we close on this? We've only been in this project.
September 9th.
Right, September 9th, guys. September 9th, right? So pretty awesome. So I think, what would you attribute the speed of the project to? Why do you think you got through so fast?
So I think one, just the speed of the crew that was working in here.
All right.
I think another thing that really helped out was having weekly check-in meetings with our project manager.
Okay.
So being able to understand, what was done in this last week, and then what are we projecting to do over the next week.
Okay.
And that way we can kind of manage and sort of understand like what, where we are in the timeline as far as the entire process for the rehab, but then also, also just timing up some of those subs that we decided to sub out ourselves and making sure, they're not interfering with what's being done inside the house.
Okay.
So I think that played a large role in being able to complete it in such a quick time. And so my thought process was, let's go ahead and just do the majority of the interior stuff. And then from there, there's a couple little things like landscaping, little smaller details that I'm gonna go and do, like get a change order for.
Sure.
And so that's what I thought, just initially thinking that, I can maybe keep that initial cost down. And then, once we got through the entire project and it's time to address those, little things like landscaping and just cleaning up around the house.
Yep.
We, with the change orders, there's little costs that kind of add up here and there.
Yep.
And so my belief is, if we were to just include that all at the beginning and just get like one bundled price for that,
Yep.
we probably would have been better off rather than just adding little things here and there at the end.
So it's such a good lesson, right? So what you're saying is like, hey, I didn't get 100% of the scope contracted and agreed upon with my crew, which is my fault, not the crew's fault, right? I left some things out. And because I did that, when I crossed that bridge for those items, I think I had to pay a premium on them. Because one, the crew knows, hey, you got to do it no matter what.
Right.
So now you got to pay up. Or you had to go outside to a different crew, and they're only coming to the job to do that one piece that you need. So their time is worth money, right? So they may be just charging you an extra, or they're charging you a premium because their time is worth money. Whereas if you had got it in the scope up front, that crew would have just run with it as a part of their process, right? So I think really smart lesson learned. Anybody else experience that on a project, right? Where like the change orders just really, really ate into the margin, right? Yeah, right. So it's a big. Yeah, good. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I would say, originally it would be like landscaping work, like just pressure washing, cleaning up outside the exterior of the house.
Yep.
But then little things too, like, moving around some switches or light fixtures, like that requires like a specialist to be able to come in and do that. And so those type of things also cost extra money, which is what ended up like running up a little bit more. And I would say like, we originally had planned to go spend $85,000, like be around there. Right now we're projecting around 91, so it wasn't like a huge deal where we went completely over budget. But would like to stick to that budget, going forward.
I mean, $5,000 is better in your pocket, right? Always, of course. But I think it's one of those things where you pay lessons all the way along. First project, 100th project, like you're paying for lessons all the way. Like this is a good one to learn early on, right? Be super buttoned up with the scope. All right, so tell us a little bit about what you think the biggest challenges were on the project. I know we talked a little bit about, man, I'm really glad I had these measurements for this kitchen, because you have to be an engineer to put it together. But what are some of the challenges that you faced on this one?
Yeah, I think just starting off, I don't have any prior construction experience, or just understanding the flow or the process for construction. So luckily we were able to get a design scope from Keeley that really helped out a lot with just moving the project along and just understanding like where things need to go. But even just like little things like designing the kitchen and like where the exact spots of each cabinet need to be, we kind of put it off until the cabinets had arrived. And then at that point, it was like, all right, now we need to figure out exactly where every single thing goes. And so little things like that, like I would say, if I had known, that needs to be in order before, I would have definitely taken care of that at the beginning of the project. That way, there's no questions about it when materials arrive and they know where exactly things need to go. Okay,
so some of it was just some of the expertise that you just needed, but also sequence of trades, like when things had to be installed, the timing of it that created, I mean, you got it through so quickly, so you did a great job, right? But that was kind of the friction that made it stressful for you, right?
Yeah.
Are you saying that you would hire Keeley again?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it came in so handy.
Shameless plug, yeah. If you buy one of our wholesale deals, you will get a light design scope with it for sure. All right, cool.
I didn't even market it that way.
The above asking community is turning into a real ecosystem, and this deal in particular is exciting for us because we are trying to curate a space for real estate professionals in all different areas to kind of come together and truly collaborate with one another. We sourced this deal through our website, Mark and I's personal website, and we did not have the capacity to take on the project. So we decided we were going to wholesale it. We posted it first to our community members to give them first crack at it, and one of our members actually was very familiar with this neighborhood and decided that they wanted to make this their very first flip. So I was able to put together a design packet for them and suggested how we would transform this property. They ran with that, tweaked some things and made it their own, and got through this project in under 60 days, worked with the contractor that another one of our community members uses, and it was just all in-house and really cool, and they did a beautiful job, and we're so excited.
Didn't have to face too many challenges with that, but I would just say like, more just understand the construction process just because it's my first time. That, it took a little bit of a learning curve to understand that, but doing this process the first time really gives me that confidence moving forward. I would say it's like, just what we were able to accomplish with the projected costs. It really, like that 90,000 really stretched a long way. like a lot of these design
Sure.
changes that I just mentioned.
Yep.
Getting that done for 90,000, I feel like is a pretty good win for us.
Absolutely.
But then also just the total outcome of the house, and even just like the sale next door for that house that just recently was flipped,
Yep.
really gives me confidence moving forward that when we go to list this house, I feel confident that
You'll
we'll
get
sell
your
it
price.
quick. Yeah.
So a couple of things to take out there. It's you pick the right team, which like really that's so important, right? Like just picking the right team can make or break your deal, right? So shop those teams or get them by referral, even better, right?
Yeah.
I like that you did the first project with the crew instead of completely self-managing.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
it would have been a much bigger headache, right? The learning curve would have been way steeper, right?
Yeah.
So just to get to be here with somebody else who knows how to manage a project from end to end, and you can just see how the puzzle pieces come together, it makes it a lot easier, right?
Yeah, I think I was going to add to your point too. Like as far as picking the right crew, we had multiple people come in, gotten like several bids, and we ultimately just went with one was like cost effective, maybe not the cheapest guy,
Okay.
but we really had like trust in him, and we've seen previous projects that he's done, and so that's what gave us the confidence to work with him, and ended up working out well.
Okay, let's open it up. So first and foremost, let's give a round of applause for Josh. Crushing this deal, 70,000 in margin, ready to take on more deals. But I want to open it up. Any questions for Josh about the project, about the process, anything at all?
What would you say the most expensive items were in the room now?
Definitely the roof, I think being a big ticket item. So like the reconfiguration of just this area behind me, taking down the drop ceilings for the kitchen, as well as rearranging the bathrooms. Those are pretty expensive too. But everything else was more like minor expenses. Like AC, we were able to get a pretty fair pricing for. The pool, replacing some of the equipment there wasn't too bad. But also, those things, like those small little things, you're doing so much of them that they tend to add up. But I would say the roof and then reconfiguring everything behind me were the two biggest expenses.
Now that you're seeing like the finished product, what will you do different if you were to?
I think as far as what we did decide to do, I would consider them mostly necessary. I think as far as the cabinets, we got those from Lowe's. We got pretty competitive pricing. I think moving forward, we probably try to go to like a local wholesaler. And then as far as everything else, I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty happy with the way this project turned out.
I have a question. Oh, you go first.
Are you gonna stage it before you sell it?
Yeah, I think everyone's been telling us to stage it, and I think that's definitely the idea. Even if it's just like
huge
this
difference.
area here and
For sure.
maybe the master bedroom. I even would like to put some staging outside, so I kind of give it like a nice
Do you have a
home.
staging company yet that you're working with?
Not yet. No. We can talk later. Yeah.
So what do you think were the biggest value-adding decisions for this project? Construction-wise, what did you do that you think created value in the end?
Yeah, so a lot of these suggestions came from Keeley and through the design scope, but definitely this kitchen I think is what it's the selling piece is going to be for this house.
For sure.
So opening it up, there's a wall over here that we tore down, and then just putting in this nice island. So that I would say it's the biggest value add to this house.
Yep.
And then the second one too would be moving those bathrooms. So before, the primary bathroom was way smaller than the guest bathroom. And so we were able to move the wall, move around some plumbing, fit in a double vanity in there, which is really nice for a primary bathroom. And so I think the bathrooms are our secondary biggest value add.
I love it. So I think, in my opinion, maybe those bathrooms might even come before this. Although this is amazing, but I only say that because that's a big deterrent, not having a proper ensuite, right? Miss out on good buyers not having a proper ensuite with counter space for the wife or the husband, right? For both, right? But just having that counter space and having that proper ensuite goes a long way. So, yeah, absolutely agree. That was a good decision to spend the money there and deal with a little bit of extra construction, but in the end, that makes the house, right?
Yeah.
We talked about funding, you did a cash.
Oh man, thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
All right, so not this one. I'll fund the next one. So tell us a little bit about how you financed the deal. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, so I partnered up with my uncle on this deal, and so we both bought capital to it. We ended up doing cash, which I think ended up helping us a lot too, just because, being that's the first one, there's no sort of, obviously you want to get it done as quickly as possible, but there's no sort of time restriction as far as, paying interest. And, there's a lot of pressure added on with that. So being able to do it cash was luckily very nice. But yeah, I think going forward, now that we have the experience, we understand, how quickly things should be getting done. It gives us the confidence to be able to leverage debt moving forward. And I think going forward too, the reason why people leverage like hard money or private money for deals like this, even though you're incurring interest, you're able to scale faster, do more deals at a time, and there's less cash being locked up.
Sure.
So I think, going forward, we have that confidence. We understand how things will, go, and knowing now, like, if there's added cost for interest, we're just going to want to get this deal a little deeper next time.
Yeah. All right. All right. Anybody else? Last questions for Josh or comments? Yeah, please.
How can we get into the windows?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, so windows, we wish we could have done them, but I think as far as everything else, like we kind of prioritize those items more, like roof, just replacing the roof and getting a permit on that. Obviously, like the interior stuff. Yeah, we also replaced the AC as well. So, if we ended up doing the windows, we would have went well over budget and ate into some of those margins. Also, another factor of that too is we are in a flood zone here. So, it gives me a little bit more grace with not having to do those, but I do wish we were able to do those. But
so for the good of the group, we don't always do the windows on our projects either. We use a company called Window Cleaning Experts, and usually they'll come out and literally do chemical peels, everything to make the windows look brand new and clean, between $500, $1,200 depending on the windows the amount of windows. So, if you're in a project and you can't afford the 7 to 12 grand to redo the windows, you can use a company like that as a hack.
Well, we use them in the other person who uses Mr. B's hardware and South.
Oh, that's on historic houses.
They only
Yeah.
serve Canada.
Yeah.
But they'll come out and like change out any hardware to get all the windows functional.
Yes,
They don't
fair.
do inspection issues.
Yeah.
If all the windows look very clean and they work during the home inspection, the buyers are not even bad for
Right.
the windows.
That's right.
If the windows, they're like broken and not locking and they look like trash and they look really old, they're gonna want a $15,000 credit from you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
right off.
All right, so that's Mr. B's for functionality. They'll fix the windows for you, and then it's Window Cleaning Experts to have them clean, shiny, and looking brand new. Yes.
So now that you're almost done with your first flip and getting it sold, what would you tell yourself when you're first getting into the deal? Like, what's maybe your biggest piece of advice or your biggest misconception or anything that surprised you? What would that be?
I think it's more just not being afraid to, get into things. We've been looking at deals for probably like the last year, just trying to, run numbers, and we were so close on our first one like a few months back. I just ended up missing it, and so just getting into it was like the first step, and then from there, it's a lot of stress and anxiety as far as like, is everything going to go smoothly? Our contractor's going to be here on time and doing everything how they're supposed to be. And so kind of my advice to myself is just jump in and, let everything kind of fall into place. And then, that's kind of the biggest piece of advice.
So I want to give Josh credit here. So I think that the key is to really be action oriented. Like before Josh closed, he had all the contractors out here to scope this house before he closed on it. It wasn't like, oh, I'll wait till closing and then I'll have the keys. It'll be easier. Like he's like, hey, tell the seller I need in there. Tell the seller I'm coming over today. He came over every day for 2 weeks leading up to the closing to make sure that he was okay with the numbers before he closed. So being so action oriented, by the time he closed, he cut his timelines in half, right? Because he was ready to go. So I'll give him credit for that. I think that was really, really smart and shows that he was serious about doing this deal.
I was definitely bothering Mark a lot.
Nah,
getting
nah.
access.
Part of-
I would say, honestly, it was a lot of nerves getting into it. But I think, being at the stage we're at now, I feel pretty good, and I'd say it's maybe a little bit easier than what I initially expected. But this is a pretty easy project, as far as what we had to do. I definitely see for more complicated projects there being a little bit more stress involved.
Yep. Anybody else? Yes.
Do you mind sharing the pictures so they'll take a report?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Here.
Mark, one is something about the financing.
Yes.
Being all cash is great, but for those trying to do their first or second flip,
Yeah.
I flip a lot. I mostly look at the cash plan.
Okay.
So if I'm all in 60K between down payment and closing costs and open costs, and then 30, I'm at 50%.
All right. All right. Okay.
You're going to go the 200,000.
All right, I love that. Such a good comment, right? So for the most part, most of us are not going to be buying cash, right? We're scaling to the point where maybe we can buy cash, or we're just using leverage because that's how we're growing the business. So a metric that Luis is looking at is, what is my cash on cash return? So cash on cash return is just what is the amount of profit margin I get back compared to the amount of capital that I put out. So he's saying, hey, if I put out 100 grand for this project and I got 150 grand back, or I made 50 grand in margin, my cash on cash return is 50%, right? So maybe for him it's a yay or nay, like you only like cash on cash returns that are above 50 or above 70, right? For us, for a long time, we always wanted 100% cash on cash return. We put in 100, we wanted 100 out. We put in 70, we wanted 70 out.
So you mentioned that you were calculating about $60 per square foot.
Yeah, or I think he was saying like staying within that range. But yeah, I mean, I kind of was sticking to that kind of number. And like just roughly running certain things, like, you know, I know a roof is going to cost somewhere around 10 to 12 grand, AC probably another 8, you know, so just little things like that, just adding them all up and then, you know, kind of adding another like 10, 15 to that, you know, just to be safe.
That's what I've been struggling with, like you as a flipper, you're going through right now. When we try to calculate our deals on the contract as a wholesaler, how do we like, you know, add the rehab cost into our offer? Like, what do you see from a fixed and flipper side? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think like the rough numbers. Yeah, pretty much what they just said. Like, because you're going through so many deals as a wholesaler, like you don't have the time to sit down and, you know, item out each single thing. So having like a multiplier for the square footage, I think is the best way to go about it as a wholesaler. And obviously you want to, you know, make sure it makes sense, because if it's a house that's like completely trashed and, you know, in a lot of despair, then, you know, want to maybe add a little more to that. But yeah, I think having like rough multipliers for your square footage, probably the best way to do it as a wholesaler.
The wholesaler and the flipper, they have to be partners, right? Like you have to collaborate, but the due diligence is on both ends, but especially on the person that's acquiring the deal, right? So, hey, take those numbers at face value. I'm glad you gave me a basis so I can see whether or not I want to look deeper into the deal, but I got to look into the deal on my own and see what my numbers look like. My resources are different than somebody else's, right? If somebody's running a crew, they can do the job for 70, but if I'm self-managing or if I'm basically paying retail to a project manager or maybe a little bit under, I might have to do it for 90, right? So yes, you're absolutely right. Do your own due diligence for sure. Anybody else? All right, round of applause for Josh. Let's do it. Okay, congratulations. Awesome job.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming out.
All right, guys.
I know it's a far drive, so
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate it. I was glad to be able to present, you know, what I learned and what I experienced through this project, and hopefully it's, you know, hopefully it empowers someone moving forward if you're a beginner or even just like an investor, you know, to think differently and be able to take action moving forward.